Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. Brent Perkins spent 25 years building companies and the last 12 sitting across from the leaders running them, asking the questions nobody else does. In 2023, he wrote a best-selling book about the stories we tell ourselves and the choices we give away. Paper Cuts, The Art of Self-Delusion. His new work is about taking those choices back across nearly 2,000 hours, leading rooms full of entrepreneurs and high-performing leaders. One pattern kept showing up. They're not short on strategy or time. They're out of capacity. So he built a program called the 40-Day Shift. That's what we're talking about today. He wrote an accompanying field guide, the shift list. Expand your capacity and show up like you mean it. As long as clients describe him as the kindest person they know who isn't very nice. He lives here in Phoenix with his family, and we're friends. We've been able to meet a number of times. Welcome to the show, Brent.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Good to be here.
A lot of cool new stuff. First, before we forget, I wanted to say you just got back from Lake Powell.
I did.
I'm so jealous. Houseboat, or the whole gig.
The whole gig, yeah.
Nice.
It's a friend of mine has a pretty epic 81-foot houseboat. You know,
Sweet.
three and a half stories, and there's 21 of us on this thing.
Oh,
And
sweet.
what was really special was my youngest daughter is 18, about to head off to college, and we got 8 days of, you know, playing in the water, surfing, paddleboarding, hiking, eating meals together, playing cards, games, like this time that I've never had another vacation that brings family and friends together like this. So it was pretty epic.
Awesome. That's very cool. Thanks. Thanks
Uh,
for sharing that. It's on my list. So speaking of lists, you have the shift list. Uh, it says it's the field guide for the 40-day shift. Is this available for people to get directly?
you can't buy the book yet.
Okay.
You can step into the program. I'm already running it with quite a few business leaders and some of their teams. Uh, and it's interesting how this came about. Spending my entire career building companies, um, one of them going the IPO route and ultimately failing at market due to conditions. But yeah, I hit this point in my career and my marriage where just everything shifted. Call it midlife, call it whatever you want. And I've spent the last 4 years in this kind of personal development, leadership development, coaching world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually coming out this month, marks the end of a 4 year stint with another community called Front Row Dads.
Mm-hmm.
And Front Row Dads is a community of entrepreneurs. Their tagline is family men with businesses, not businessmen with families. Just kind of shifts the priority
Sure.
of things. And
Which a lot of people, it's you don't know you do it. You don't know you slide into that life, and you're just grinding forever, and
oh man,
you keep making
yeah.
family sacrifices, and next thing you know, you're finally financially successful, and your family is in trouble.
Yes. Or you just find yourself very disconnected from it. And also a lot of times
Yeah.
ourselves along the way too, right?
Right.
So I was reflecting back as this chapter of my life is closing. 4 years, not only was I in the community, actually longer than 4 years, but I was the director of leadership. So I was there, I was in Vistage for 10 years before this,
Okay.
and I brought a lot of the ideas and frameworks of Vistage and YPO and EO, some of these other groups I've spoken in, to structure a cohort program inside of Front Row Dads. How do you get men who are entrepreneurs and family men to meet monthly, to come together to gather, to go a level deeper than what you might talk about, just having a beer with somebody or having a coffee.
Sure.
And I realized I've got almost 2,000 hours and a little over 300 men that I have facilitated, coached, trained, walked next to over the last 4 years. And it's a really interesting perspective and a lot of stories that I have.
Sure.
And, honestly, especially in the age of AI, nobody needs more information. Like, information's cheap.
Right.
What we need are insights and the stories that people are telling themselves and that are happening to them in their world. Because this is where this came about. The number one thing everybody told me is because we were ultimately, when I was launching these cohorts, like they're meeting 2 to 3 hours a month, like in a singular point of time, which most business owners go, yeah, I don't have time for that, right? I don't
For
have the
sure.
bandwidth for that. But that narrative, I don't have the bandwidth for that, became the theme of life. Like everybody's too busy.
Yep.
There isn't time. And that's why we turn to, there's certain mechanistic time levers, like Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time,
Hmm.
which actually does a great job. And it doesn't tell you like what to do with yourself along the way.
Okay.
It helps you create time, but not in a way that's consistent, not in a way that changes how you show up to the world. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. What I found is that it really wasn't a time problem. Nobody has a time problem. We have a capacity problem.
Right. The most successful, busiest, richest people in the world have the same amount of time in the day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's really a capacity. And it's not capacity like you're a factory. I've got to have, instead of 3 lines, I got to have 5 lines of throughput. That's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about your ability to show up, hold more, be curious, close your mouth for a minute and actually just be present and listen to your colleagues, your kids, your partner in life. Um, and so again, nobody needed another book on this thing. So I'm like, how do I do all this? How do I bring this value? Because there is value in these way too many hours that I've sat next
Right.
to, this many entrepreneurs and leaders. And so it's like, you know what? I'm going to do it in 40 days. I'm going to bring something forward where it's bite-sized, it's manageable. The
Right.
field guide is 12,000 words. In perspective, that's 20% of a normal size book, you know?
Right.
And the
Right.
accompanying program is 40 days because who has time for 6 or 12 months of learning and going deep into things? It's hard.
Sure. Sure.
Let's actionable, let's get it done. Let's see some change because then we can invest again in the next level of change.
Right. Excellent. Love it. Because yes, to your point, it's knowledge and clarity, but you can't just get stuck in knowledge acquisition and not take action. But it can be seem daunting, right? So you got to put it into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'd really like, I mean, what you said about capacity. I mean, it's clarity, it's reflection. You got to figure out, you got to do the work yourself. You can't just read a quick book and go, oh, that's it. That's the quick, easy answer. It takes time to figure out your own situation and the story you've been telling yourself, the narrative that's kind of got your blinders on. And then, right, what do you do about it? And that's partially the capacity as well.
Yes. And this is where I used to, God, I can't tell you how many people came to me. It's like they saw the changes I made in my life and how I
Mhm.
shifted from, I was traveling 100 days a year to 37 countries, speaking all over the world, um, and running a very fast-paced life. And they saw me completely do a 180, slow down, find a lot more peace. And, a lot of people were like, how'd you do that? And of course, we all have our own journey to get there, but I told all of them it just takes time. And they said, well, I don't have it. And then I said, well, too bad because it just takes time. And the long answer is it actually does take time, but not the way I thought it did, right? It doesn't have to take 3 to 5 years of this long grind while you're grinding at work and grinding in your family. Like that feels
Right.
so daunting and overwhelming for most people. Um,
Right.
so this is where the 40-day shift comes in because I've created an arc that is from beginning to end 2 minutes a day. And if you can give yourself 40 days of, starting your day off with 2 to 5 minutes of reading something, thinking through it or applying it to your life and doing it in succession, like following this order, not jumping ahead and trying to get 3 days done at once. Like
Right.
I get we're all overachievers, but that's not the point. Like,
Right.
can you slow down for just 40 days and do this? And everybody that's gone through it, every single person has seen absolutely incredible shifts. Not life-changing, not that they're solving the world's problems in 40 days, but enough hope, enough possibility in there to
Right.
say, "Ah,
Making an
I'd
impact.
given up. I'd set this to the side. I'd said it wasn't possible to do that in my marriage while I was doing this over here, right? And to see that it actually is possible, to get a glimmer of hope, light at the end of the tunnel,
Right.
really powerful.
Right. And I'm sure you're going to have, you already have tons of like testimonials and stuff and examples and stories and cases and stuff, but that's just going to continue to grow. I like the timeline too. I don't know if this is built this way on purpose, but changing a behavior, an adult human behavior, in the modern world takes anywhere from like 3 to 12 weeks on average,
Yeah,
which fits nicely into your 40-day shift. So it's behavioral training in a sense.
it is. And the 40-day number specifically, while this book isn't spiritual per se, I mean it's shown in the Bible multiple times about the
Right.
40-day journey. And it is the time period, the fastest time period I've ever seen to actually see transformation, like real change. So why not bring it into honestly the business world? Like those of us that are high performers, that are pushing hard, that want to succeed, that don't want to make less money. Like why would we do that? We don't need to, but you don't have to give up what you really want, the freedom, the peace, the things we're actually doing this for.
Right.
And honestly, most of my friends who are really successful in their businesses and what they've built, they do not have the same level of success in their private relationships, in their health, really in disconnecting from all that they've built. Like it's because it's so difficult to not grip tightly onto these things because we built it. The playbook that got us here worked, yes.
Right. Yep.
That playbook,
Doesn't take you to the next place.
well, not only does it not take you to the next place, it actually stops working in the place it worked originally, and it starts destroying you along the way. But it's so hard to let go of it because it made some people crazy amounts of, success.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Things change. Variables change. You change along the way.
yes. Yeah, and we can't run ourselves ragged forever. You know, we're meant to go in spurts, and that typically doesn't happen in business. We tell ourselves it does. Oh, I'm just doing this sprint for this time period until a sprint turns into 18 years, right?
Right. Okay. So I wanted to sort of circle back on the the showing up intentionally, right? Showing up as your best self. Most people know they're not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And at any given task, right? We know usually, sometimes you're in the zone and you got it down for a while and it's hard to stay in that spot. But it's not just that most people know they can do better. It's the balance. Can you speak a
Yeah.
little bit more about the balance aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think balance itself is actually a fallacy. It's something that is impossible to achieve and actually, I think, brings shame and guilt along with it because we're trying to, quote, balance our things out. And
Right.
it's just not real, right? We're always, it's like a pendulum, moving around, but more like in a circle than side to side, where we can only actually give our attention and our presence to one thing at a time. So it, balance is tough. But what I found is that I thought when I first was doing this work that most high achievers are running a hero pattern. And it's not wrong. Like we're either saving, fixing, um, holding, doing things in this way for other people, because ultimately it comes down to us. That's part of us gripping tight onto things. It's our way of making sure that things go in a predictable fashion for what we really want.
Okay.
Um, but I think hero is really the wrong word, because we do step into, like, we carry more, right? We can handle more, we can do more, we can hold more. But it comes down to trust. And we end up doing all these things because ultimately we actually don't trust ourselves. And that means we actually can never trust other people and the people around us. And I've found, as I've pulled it all apart, that that is the core piece to why we can't let go. We can't slow down. We can't just show up. It really comes down to this core trust of who we are. And I found something interesting. I did a ton of research and found that um, genius doesn't mean what we probably have all grown up thinking it means. We think it means this intellect, this powerhouse of intellectual prowess, right? And we use it as a KPI to see who's better, right? You know, what's your level of intellect? Are you somebody who is smarter than somebody else? And if you go back 4,000 years, the Latin roots to the word,
Hmm.
it actually means guardian. They believe that everybody was born with a genius. The closest things I can relate it to is like the Catholics have deities, the Greeks had daemons. It's like this inner protective guardian that you were born with and you die with. And what I think they were really talking about was your higher self. Christians call it the Holy Spirit. Other religions call it different things. But it's this thing that's beyond this, who we are, just as humans showing up in the world, that's inside of us, this higher version of ourselves, whether you attach it to spirituality or not. And that's the piece that we've bastardized into not being this beautiful thing that's full of wisdom. Instead, we've pulled the wisdom out of it and said, oh yeah, it's just your brain, it's how smart you are. No, I can't trust somebody else's decision making, but you can trust wisdom because it's so much deeper, it's so much more interconnected. It's more than us, right? But I think that's the connection we've lost, is we don't trust ourselves, and we definitely don't trust that piece inside of other people.
Or appreciate it or even acknowledge it.
Correct.
Right? That's namaste, right? Namaste means I see the divinity in you.
Yes.
Um, I would say though, I want to go back to most people do see themselves kind of as the hero in their own journey, right? I mean, that's kind of the natural selfish viewpoint most people grow up with, right? We're all born ignorant, naked, and afraid, and everything seems to circle around us.
Yep.
And we all cast ourselves as the main character in our story, right? And I kind of like the hero's journey, and you're in your arc, right? You've learned, and now you're bringing back the boons to the community and sharing and helping people, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of also the hero's journey. But to your point, yeah, I think you're right. The your zone of genius. Heard people talk about it in different ways, but it's very much um, a different way of looking at your skills and ability in a way that's respectful and trying to optimize it, right, and share it appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah. Zone of Genius gets into, I think, a healthier version of what can be an extreme view on who's a genius and who's not, but getting into just this place of, what are your natural gifts? What
Right.
were you born with that makes you unique and crazy and wild and silly and goofy, and yet come through in this easy way? Like, that's your zone of genius. Like, the place you don't have to grind. Like, even when it looks like hard work to
Right.
everybody else, you're like, this is fun,
Right.
right? And you're
Right.
great at it. Like, that's your zone of genius.
Right.
And genius still ultimately means something, and that piece is still tied to what we're talking about, this piece of divinity, this higher piece inside of ourselves. Here's what happens when we are playing the hero, and I don't mean in the hero's journey. Yes, that's a really well-known arc um, of a journey we all go on. But I mean like showing up like you have all the answers, like you're the only one that can get it done, where you're just fixing it for everybody, solving everybody's problems. What happens is that that's exhausting, right? It We're managing this, and it doesn't look just like saving the day. You know, there's another there's a bunch of books written on it, and I've kind of got my own flair for this, but this kind not nice topic, right?
Right.
Where nice is where most of us live, even when we understand this concept of that, kind is at the silliest level. Hey, Tim, you've got a little bit of food in your left side of your teeth, right? That's the silly known side of kindness. But the deeper side of it is I'm I might be seeing something that's happening with your kids as we start talking about things, or that you're doing something in business, and I just like, that's not my business. I'll just let Tim keep going. And it's like, wait a minute. The kind thing is that I shouldn't manage what Tim can or can't hold. I'm going to say something. I'm going to not make it my opinion, but I'm going to identify something for Tim honestly. And hopefully there's enough trust between us that you can take it and do with it what you want. Versus when you're managing this, and it's crazy when we really think about it, we manage what people can hold all day long.
Right.
Everybody in our life. You're smoothing the edges, you're holding back, you're tempering. That is exhausting. This is the capacity we're talking about. We don't actually trust other people for anything. It's these little things. It's like it seems like it's the big stuff in the beginning, or when we start talking about this stuff, but when it gets down to it, it's just these micro little things all over the place. Sometimes it turns into us being white lies, sometimes it's just we hold back. But it takes up 80% of our mental power.
Right. We're maybe it's American culture in particular, but it's a little on the fragile side, right? They're very sensitive. So we default to nice over kind much of the time. Um, I this also there's overlap between the different types of intelligences people appreciate nowadays. It used to be, what's your IQ? Your intelligence quotient was based on a very specific thing, and there are people with physical intelligence, emotional intelligence. There's different aspects to it as well, which is another sort of measure of that, and that's awesome too, right? Appreciating that we all have our strengths. Balance is unattainable, but it's a good goal, right? It's like perfection versus excellence, right? You'll never be perfect, but you strive for it. So I like that too, because I believe there are seasons for things, right? Your wheel of life, right? Your health, your relationships, your spiritual side, your family. It's never going to be perfectly round. But there's times where you get to spend time with your daughter and really strengthen that part of it for a while and so forth.
Well, yeah, I'm curious. Let's pull this apart for a minute because I think this is not there's no common frame of reference for the word balance for people. So I'm curious for you, like as you asked me about balance and I kind of danced around it and went a different direction. What does what does that mean for you? Where does that show up in your life or in your business?
For me, it's family relationships versus work. That's usually the work-life balance, right? When you're like
Ah, yes.
where I- I'm in a busy I have a busy week or a project or something, and I don't see my family very much. I come home late, I leave early, all that sort of stuff. That sort of that's the balance I generally refer to. But it's also health, right? I mean, you do too much work and you neglect
Yeah.
your health for too long, and health is really paramount.
Yeah. So an interesting thing that I find most of us, including me, don't do is balance is still like the I find the way you're talking about it is still it's still a performance. Like we're
Okay.
managing things for other people, right?
Right.
You're kind of managing, well, I'm making money here, I've got a business, I have obligations, but I know my wife needs certain things and my kids, and the world tells me I should do this, and I'm trying to like you're the one still managing, right?
Hmm.
Versus
Being at
sitting
peace with
down,
it.
well, sitting down with your wife and saying, hey, you know, I've got the opportunities to make X amount of money. It brings a lot of variability with it, and there's going to be a lot of long nights. Is that trade-off something you want too? You know, and then it doesn't become balance; it becomes a conversation. It becomes agreements with the people that matter in our lives. Because one of the things, at least I can tell you my own story, which is, when I was traveling those 100 days a year, honestly, there was a lot of fun in it, seeing all those countries and going all over, and making good money along the way. But I never asked my family if they wanted it, although I would tell you that I'm doing it for them.
Right.
They didn't have a choice in it. So was
Right.
I really doing it for them? Sort of,
Right.
but they didn't have a say.
Right. That was that was also kind of the overall arc of Breaking Bad. Did you ever see that
Yeah, oh
series?
yeah, yeah,
Right. And at the end, he realized, no, that was. I kept telling myself it was for my family, but yeah, he was drawn to that path. Back to the 40-day shift. So I think through the self-delusion and the stories we tell ourselves, like we just talked about, right? And I'm doing it for this person or that person. Um, there's a lot of stuff there. It requires a lot of introspection and deep work, and that's kind of overwhelming and daunting. So you broke it down into something a little more tangible and actionable for people.
yeah, yes. I took what took me 10 years of my life and being part of a group like Front Row Dads with this, a couple thousand hours of facilitating and doing my own work along the way, but also, supporting other entrepreneurial, men and fathers through that. And just said, I'm seeing too many people spend too much time spinning their wheels, coming in and out of this thing, trying it, getting frustrated, coming back out. Like, how could I bring this unique experience I have and do it in a way that brings the best techniques, tips, tricks, strategies, all the pieces, bite-sized versions of them, right? Like there's
Right.
a deeper, there's depth to all 40 pieces of this thing that you don't need to go into unless you want to or you're ready. It's outside of this program or this book. How do you get the nugget, the best of it, in a way that will work, does work? And can you skim it and run it through AI and cheat code it? No. That's why this book actually works in today's day and age, because you actually have to sit with and spend 5 minutes a day on each of these things.
Right.
But that's doable.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's, I think, I'd say well spotted that
Yeah.
people need something like that. But I mean, it was also organic, right? It came out of working with people for years and realizing this is this is hard for these active people.
It's really hard. And it serves another role too. It started where most of who I work with privately are all either business owners or C-suite executives in small and mid-market companies. Um, but I was just talking to a CEO friend of mine a couple weeks ago. He said not only he'd stepped into the program, and not only do I need this. He's like, I've been waiting. He's like, I've always wanted to do some of this work. He's like, I've never had the time.
Right.
Like, but I have two of my senior executives. They're either going to get fired or they're going to quit because of burnout. And he's like, they're great, and I love them as humans. He's like, I can't tell them to go get counseling,
Right.
but I can do this, right? And it's the 40-day shift is an affordable way and is a time crunched way that he felt like it was a beautiful way to bring his staff into this like leadership training, this leadership development program in a quick way. So
Sure, sure. And so on that note, that was sort of one of my follow-up questions was, uh, are you planning on offering this to as a package to bigger groups and so forth for culture and staffing support, all that sort of thing?
yeah, so we'll see how it all goes once this thing really really takes off. As of right now, I've got my own private advisory and coaching practice I do with business leaders. And then separately, I do the 40-day shift program, which is still one-to-one work. Like what I've realized is even though you have to do the work on your own,
Mhm.
it is a lot of value if I spend an hour up front and an hour on the
Mhm.
back end
Right,
of this thing. There's just a ton of value. So part of that program is you get 2 hours of private time with me. So that only scales so far.
right,
So we'll see where we get once that scales past me.
right.
But my hope in life is to impact other leaders who are impacting again other leaders and other people. And I think this is a tool. I know it is a tool that's bite-sized, it's approachable, that can be passed down, and it can start to make real change real quick.
Excellent. I'm excited to check it out and dive into it. Brent,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome. Um, so if people would like to connect with you or learn more about the 40-day shift, where can they go? What should they do?
Yeah, I mean, my website is 3xbold.com. You can also go to the 40dayshift.com, and that's the 40dayshift.com. So either 3xbold or the 40-day shift.
Okay, excellent. Great stuff. Strong work, Brent. Appreciate you sharing it with us. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching, and look forward to connecting again with you soon.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.